Hey, 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 how are you? I'm just a few minutes late because I got involved into working up on this series that I'm coming up with. We are going to be launching next month The Brilliance of Dyslexia. It's a masterclass series, and I was speaking to one of the contributors to that series and was really excited about it. And I looked at my clock and I said, oops, I need to go. Anyway, hi, I'm Jean Harville. And I am the founder of the Raising Motivated Learners Facebook community. And I'm also the founder of the Rethink Learning Academy. And I'm also a teacher as of 20 years. And I taught kids who think and learn differently. And now that I'm here using what I learned both as a teacher and as a mom, so this covers like 40 years worth of working with the school system and watching the non-progression or actually going backwards type education system that we have. And I just said, you know what, I know a lot, and I think that I wanted to come and be online and to really help parents navigate the education system. So that's kind of what I'm all about. And one of the things that I have found and figured out, and because we have so much more science now about the brain, about the neuroscience of the brain, and how we can actually change our thoughts and change our brain with the neuroplasticity of brain, right? So my topic is, your kids' thoughts are not their thoughts, just like your thoughts are not your thoughts, okay? So where did our thoughts come from, right? Where do they come from? Well, they come from our parents, and their thoughts come from their parents, and their thought comes from their parents. So we're actually thinking thoughts that are kind of old for where we are now. And so if we think about, okay, have you ever said something and you think, oh, I remember my mom saying that. My mom just came out of my mouth. And I swore I would never say that to my own kids, right? And so that's what's happened, is that our thoughts actually come from our parents' thoughts. And when you think about trying to apply it to the generation now of kids, they're looking at you like, Mom, that doesn't make any sense. We have computers now. We have technology. We are like beyond living where your parents lived. And when you think about it, some of the sayings are archaic. However, the basic foundation of where they come from, it's actually good, but the way it's said and the way it's expressed, it can be different. But we also have to just be super, super careful that we're not putting onto our kids what our past is. So if we have issues or things that are going on in our past or went on in our past, those are hardwired into our brain. So when we are parenting, it's kind of hard to separate out some of the trauma or some of the trials that we had growing up, and we end up projecting that on our kids. So our kids' thoughts aren't really their thoughts. Our kids' thoughts are our thoughts of when we were growing up, and our thoughts are from our parents' thoughts. So it's like, oh, this is so crazy, right? So what do we need to do? Like, what is this all about? So if you think about the neuroplasticity of the brain, the wiring of the brain, when you think certain thoughts and you have an emotion with it, it becomes a belief. However, it could be a false belief, right? It could be a limiting belief, and sometimes that can hold us back. It keeps us from moving forward, keep us from being able to make those decisions that we really want to make. And so sometimes we come from the not enoughness part of it, where maybe when we were younger, we were told to stay in our place, and what we had to say or thought or think wasn't correct. It depends on your family dynamics. Oftentimes we come out of it as not feeling enough. Maybe we were told that we weren't worthy enough. Maybe something happened in our background where we didn't feel safe. So we bring that forward to our wiring where we are now. And sometimes the behavior that we have, the things that we say, the way that we base on raising our kids is based on that past information, right? And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about, our decisions, like 90% of our decisions comes from our subconscious brain. And so so when we're not conscious enough, our subconscious brain keeps us safe and keeps us familiar and doesn't want us to stray, wants to keep us together like this, right? So how are we going to change that base of decision making if we can't get out away from that subconscious brain, right? Well, because of neuroplasticity in the brain, we actually can. We can actually choose our thoughts now. When we have a running thought that goes through, we call them automatic negative thoughts. They're called ants. You probably have heard that on the web. What happens is those thoughts hold us back, like making that special phone call to get something, I don't know, like if you want to renovate your bathroom and you don't like speaking on the phone, so you're like, I have to make a phone call, I have to hire somebody to figure out how to get my bathroom renovated, and maybe you don't like talking on the phone for one reason or another. Maybe at some point you are shut down or thought of as less than. All right, so school situations, that was for me, for instance, being bullied when I was in school. I was a new girl in school. And so I got picked on. So that just kind of broke my confidence and just swashed me down. So I'm more like that play small type person, and I would let other people make decisions for me. Now that I'm older and wiser, I don't want that anymore. So I need to break away from that and get away from that so that I can be a great example for my own kids, that I can show them that they can choose their own thoughts about situations, and they don't have to live in my issues or my problems or my thinking, but they can have their own thinking. How do we do that, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 reasons for changing your thoughts, all right, as a parent, because we as parents want to change our thinking and so that we can allow our kids to have their own thinking that's more current, that's more 21st century than where we are. Okay, so you can change your thoughts. And we know this because of the neuroplasticity that of the brain that neuroscientists have been studying for several years, 10 years or 20 years or so, and that we can break those old thought pathways and create new ones, all right? Here are 3 reasons for changing your thoughts, all right? We have those negative thoughts that can lead to negative actions or non-action or stuckness. We feel like we're stuck. We can't get the job that we want. We can't get the income that we want. We're stuck. We don't know where to go and how to go after that because there's a story that's running in our brain that's keeping us from going for that interview or from dreaming, or we have this box that we've been living in. So we need to think outside the box. With what we have now with technology, we have so many tools with us, but sometimes it can be scary and you just rather just stay in your box. So that's one reason that we want to get rid or change that and flip this to like positive thoughts. And it's not just think positive thoughts, it's also wiring our brain with those positive thoughts. So number 1 is like recognizing these negative thoughts that we have that's holding us back and keeping us stuck. Number 2 is taking these negative thoughts, and along with these negative thoughts, we have these emotions. And when this negative thought and this emotion is put together, it becomes a new belief. Now we believe things that, may or may not be true, may be true for us, maybe we don't want them to be true for our kids. This is another reason why we want to go in and we want to think about the beliefs that we hold and how we can change those and how we can choose the type of beliefs that we really want, to choose the thought that we want, and we want to be able to rewire our brain in that way of thinking so that our kids can also see that we can change and we can choose our own thoughts. Because the whole point is we want to teach our kids they can choose their thoughts and the way they think about situations. All right, and number 3. So number 1 was that recognize those negative thoughts that we have that lead us to those negative actions of stuckness. And number 2 is we can take those negative thoughts and emotions that we have that become a belief that actually leads our actions. We want to be able to change those actions to something that we are wanting to be able to do. And number 3 is have our negative thoughts lead to speaking outwardly negative comments about self. So like when you are not feeling very good about yourself and you're feeling negative about yourself, we speak those comments out, or our actions show that we are not feeling very worthy of ourselves. Our kids see this, and our kids pick up on it. And these little messages, even if we may not be speaking them out, but they're showing from our behavior, our kid is wiring in their brains. Maybe they don't feel safe, or maybe they don't feel enough, because maybe that's just the way it is. We are the role models for our kids. So there's those three reasons that we want to change our own thinking because of our automatic negative thoughts that our subconscious brain is holding, and we want to be able to move into an action, a positive action, right? And then number two is that when we take these negative thoughts and we have these negative emotions together, and it affects our actions of how we're going to move forward. Number three is that we have negative thoughts that lead to speaking outward, and our kids can see and hear negative things that come from us, even if it's just, oh, blank, whatever. And it's just the littlest little things the kids pick up on. And they kind of create that wiring within themselves that maybe they're not good enough and not, whatever. So there's some reasons that we as parents want to really grapple with some of the negative things that we have said, or things that have happened in our past that we want to not transfer to our kids. And so it's kind of that way of figuring what those things are. Maybe we blame ourselves for the struggles that our kids are having, and it's not our fault, but we take on that blame. So then when our kids hear us or see us say that, they're going to say, oh, it was my mom's fault, or they may take it on as their fault as to why they're struggling. And it's not true. It's not true. We have this big old education system, right, that we are having to march through and to work with and work against, and our education system doesn't exactly bend to all the different needs that our kids have. And so a lot of emotions and negative emotions can happen and can occur. So we have that ability to change our thoughts. We have that ability to be empowered, to change our neural pathways in our brain and prime out those old pathways, and to really prime in the new pathways, the rewiring of our brain, a new way of thinking. And if you see the models of the brains, you can look them up on YouTube, and you see where you have the old pathways going along, and then you have the new pathways strengthening and the old pathways pruning away. We want to prune away those old thoughts, those old beliefs, so that we can build the new beliefs and the new thoughts in there. That's going to be so much more empowering. When we change ourselves, when we transform our own thinking, our kids will transform as well. And so that's the whole reason why we as parents want to really take a look at our thinking is for our kids. It's to model for our kids, to give our kids the empowerment that they have, and look at the brilliance of who they are, the brilliance of their brains and who they are, and really to portray that for them, and support them so that they can make it through the education system and move on and beyond into what they're created to do and what they're created to be, without having any of those negative thoughts that are holding them back, right? So how does that feel when you think about you get to make the change, you get to change your own thoughts and your own patterns and limiting and your own beliefs? You get to do that. That makes it a lot easier when you say, I get to do this, and it's a more empowering way of thinking about it. It feels better, doesn't it? So remember, your external words can become your child's internal words. What you say externally, your child may pick up on and becomes their internal dialogue. And so you want to be super careful with that. So I invite you to, if you want to figure out a little bit more about, or go deeper with a conversation with me about your own thinking about your own childhood or negative things that are coming up for you, you can I will put a link down below, and we can connect up with Zoom and have a conversation about that and ways that you as a parent can, change some of the negative thoughts and beliefs that you have so that your child doesn't see those or pick those up on as their own thoughts and own limiting beliefs. Okay, so I will put that link below here, and I would love to have a conversation with you so that we can empower our next generation, empower our kids. All right, so I'm Jean Harville, and I am going to sign off for now. Bye. Y'all have a great day.